My name is Dale, and I want to tell you something strange that happened to me. It is a true story, at least in my own mind, and I still cannot believe it really happened. I did not mean to join an alien women's fighting team. I only wanted to buy some bread. Let me explain from the beginning. I worked on a small space station called Halcyon's Rest. It floats near a big gas planet that nobody cares about, because there is nothing valuable there. My job was loading boxes onto cargo ships. It was not exciting work. The food on our station tasted like wet paper, so when I heard that an alien ship had docked and was selling real bread, I got excited. I had not eaten real bread in almost a year. The aliens who owned that ship were called the Vrexari. They are very tall, almost 7 feet, with purple skin and bright violet eyes. Their culture is built around strong women warriors. In their society, the women fight, and the men stay home and take care of other things. I did not know much about them, but I had heard they were kind trading partners, even if they looked a little scary. I walked onto their ship, following the smell of fresh bread. I saw a door that had strange symbols on it. I could not read Vrexari writing, so I had no idea what the sign said. I walked through the door, thinking it would lead me to their kitchen or their market area. Instead, I found myself standing in front of a strange machine. It looked like a scanner. Before I could even ask a question, it beeped happily, and a voice said something in a robotic tone. My translator device turned the words into English a few seconds later. It said, "New recruit accepted. Welcome, sister." I stood there confused. A tall Vrexari woman walked over, looked at me, and blinked in surprise. "You are a human male," she said, sounding shocked. "How did you activate the enlistment scanner?" "I was looking for bread," I said honestly. She explained that I had walked into their military registration room by mistake. And worse, once the scanner records your handprint, you are officially part of their fighting group. There was no way to cancel it. Leaving after joining was seen as extremely disrespectful in their culture. She looked almost sad for me, but she said the rule could not be changed. So instead of walking away with a warm loaf of bread, I walked away with a uniform 3 sizes too big, a training weapon, and a bed inside a room full of very tall, very strong alien women, who all looked ready to fight much better than I ever could. The first days were hard. My body could not do what their bodies could easily do. For them, running up a wall while carrying a teammate was just a simple warm-up exercise. For me, it felt impossible. Their training manuals were also difficult to understand, because my translator device was old and kept mixing up words. Whenever I looked at my teammates, they stared back at me like I was a lost animal that had wandered into the wrong place. Their team leader was a woman named Threska. She had calm eyes but a very serious face, and a long scar that ran from her shoulder to her ear. On my 4th day, she pulled me aside. "You will not be able to continue here," she said. Her voice was not mean. She said it the way someone tells you it is going to rain later. "I understand," I said. For what it is worth, I really did just want bread. For a second, her serious face softened a little. "Then try to last long enough to eat it," she said, before walking away. I decided that I would try my best, even if I felt out of place. I was not as strong as the Vrexari women, and I was not as fast either, but I had one thing that they did not expect from me. I grew up doing hard, tiring work on space stations. I understood machines, tight spaces, and how to solve problems using clever thinking instead of raw strength. That difference became important during a training exercise about 3 weeks into my time there. Our group had to practice moving through an old, empty ship, section by section, as part of a simulation. I was supposed to stay near the back, carrying equipment, since nobody expected me to do anything important. But partway through the exercise, something unexpected happened. 6 of my teammates were marked as unable to continue in HE simulation because of a technical mistake in the practice system. Their rules said that if a situation like that happened, the whole team should retreat and try again later. They did not believe in risking more people for a situation that seemed impossible to fix. However, I remembered something from my old job. I used to work in tight metal hallways just like the ones on that practice ship. I knew that certain wall panels could be pushed open with a strong shoulder movement, without needing special tools. I also knew which paths workers usually use to move quickly between sections without being seen. So, instead of retreating like the plan said, I crawled through a maintenance passage I had noticed earlier. It let me quietly reach the other side of the ship, right where my teammates were stuck. My translator device buzzed with excitement as the simulation recorded a successful solution, something the system had rated as extremely unlikely to work. When the lights turned back on and the exercise ended, 6 very tall alien women stared at me in surprise. I was still halfway inside a small metal shaft, holding my training weapon, feeling proud of myself for solving the puzzle everyone thought was impossible. Threska walked over slowly. She looked at the shaft, then looked at me. "How did you know that panel would open?" she asked. "These stations are usually built cheaply," I explained. "Builders use small screws instead of strong metal supports to save money. I have worked with that kind of construction my whole life." She stayed quiet for a moment, thinking about what I said. "You did not solve this the way a warrior would," she finally said. "You solved it the way someone solves problems after facing many difficult days." "That's basically my normal Tuesday," I said, trying to joke a little. For the first time since I had met her, Threska actually smiled. News about what happened spread quickly through the ship. By the next morning, almost everyone in the unit wanted to know how the small human had solved a training puzzle that their computer system said was almost impossible. I found myself surrounded by curious alien women during mealtime, all of them asking questions about how station workers think and solve problems using simple engineering tricks. It felt strange, but also kind of nice, like I had earned a little bit of respect. That evening, I finally sat down to eat the bread I had been dreaming about since the beginning of this whole adventure. I remember feeling excited as I picked up the piece and got ready to take my first bite. But before I could eat it, the room suddenly became quiet. I looked up and saw Threska standing across from me. Behind her stood the rest of my team, all watching me with calm, serious expressions. "Did I break another rule?" I asked, only half joking. "You are part of our sisterhood now," Threska said simply. "We do not eat apart from each other." Without waiting for me to respond, all 6 of them sat down around me. Not next to me on one side, but completely around me, filling every open seat at the table. It felt less like I was being surrounded because of danger, and more like I was being protected, the same way a group protects someone they care about. One teammate slid another piece of bread toward me, even though I had not asked for more. Another one began explaining, without me asking, the correct way to care for a Vraxari training blade, almost like she assumed I needed to know this information for my future here. I sat in the middle of that table, one small human, completely surrounded by tall, powerful alien women, who could have easily overpowered me without much effort. But instead of feeling scared, I felt something surprising. I felt like I belonged. "Just so everyone knows," I said, smiling, "I originally came here for a sandwich." Threska reached over and calmly took a piece of my bread without asking permission. I later learned this small action was actually a sign of deep respect in Vraxari culture, almost like a friendly compliment. "Sandwich can wait," she said. "Sisterhood comes first." I did not argue with her. 3 weeks earlier, I would have said that getting accidentally enlisted into an alien fighting group was the worst thing that could happen to someone on a simple grocery trip. But sitting there, surrounded by new friends who genuinely seemed to care about me, I started to think that maybe this strange mistake was actually one of the best things that had ever happened to me. Over the next few weeks, I slowly learned more about life among the Vraxari. Even though I could never match their natural strength, I began finding small ways to help the team using my human way of thinking. I noticed shortcuts they had missed. I understood machines that confused them. I even taught a few of them some old jokes from Earth, which they found strange at first, but eventually enjoyed. Threska once told me that humans were interesting because we did not give up, even when everything seemed impossible. She said Vraxari warriors were trained from birth to be strong, but humans seemed to build strength through struggle and effort instead. I liked that idea. It made me feel proud of where I came from, even during moments when I felt completely out of place among such powerful warriors. As the weeks passed, I stopped feeling like an outsider. My teammates started including me in more training sessions, not because they expected me to fight like them, but because they respected the different skills I brought to the team. I became someone who solved problems using creativity, patience, and experience, rather than raw power. Eventually, I stopped thinking about escaping the sisterhood altogether. Life on that ship became comfortable in its own unusual way. I had teammates who checked on me, protected me, and treated me like family, even though I looked completely different from them. The food improved too, since the sisterhood occasionally traded for real bread, something I now appreciated more than ever before. Looking back, I still laugh at how this whole adventure started. A simple walk to buy bread turned into one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. I learned that sometimes, the most unexpected situations can lead to wonderful new friendships, even when they begin as a complete accident. If someone had told me a few months earlier that I would end up living among alien warriors, learning their customs, and being protected by strong women from another world, I would have laughed and called it impossible. But here I am, still adjusting to life among the Vrksari, still enjoying quiet meals surrounded by new friends, and still occasionally reminding everyone that I originally just wanted a sandwich. In the end, I think that is the lesson I took from this whole experience. Life does not always go the way we expect. Sometimes we walk through the wrong door, and instead of finding what we were looking for, we find something even more valuable, something we never even knew we needed. And honestly, even though my journey started with a small mistake, I would not trade this new life for anything, not even for the freshest piece of bread in the galaxy.